Good afternoon. I'm 14 First Alert meteorologist Arden Gregory here with your afternoon streaming show. We've got a lot of heat to talk about in this week ahead. So let me really quickly get the Facebook video pulled up on my phone here so that I can see your comments in case anybody has any questions as we go along. I want to make sure that we can get to those if you do have any questions. But mainly we are on alert for heat. I'm going to lower this just a little bit so you can see the graphics more clearly here. Okay, so we are on alert for heat for essentially an entire week. From tomorrow all the way through next Monday, we have this heat wave on the way. And right through the middle of that, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, give or take, seems like it's going to be the worst of it. And today, we are also on alert for some flooding. Now, that threat is kind of dropping off, but it's still a possibility. So we're going to talk about the heat as well as the flooding, but once we get through this afternoon, the emphasis will really be on the heat. There is a heat advisory for parts of western Kentucky and southern Illinois, but if I widen out the view a bit, you can see these brighter pinks showing up here. That's an extreme heat watch and an extreme heat warning off to our west. And as we go through the rest of this week, we will see this more intense heat start to build into the tri-state as well. Right now, we're sort of right on the cusp, right on the edge of that area dealing with this heat wave, but it will gradually shift eastward and sort of encompass the tri-state as we go through the rest of this week. But the rain, the flooding that I was mentioning before, that's also something that we're keeping a very close eye on this week. We did have some thunderstorms that we were tracking coming in from the northwest last night into this morning, but really this morning as that rain pushed into the tri-state, it just dried up. I mean, we got nothing more than a few showers in Illinois. That rain just didn't make it very far. But then we saw some additional showers and thunderstorms popping up, mainly south of the tri-state. So it's almost like it just skipped over us. It picked up, got to the other side of the tri-state, and then started up again. But we have caught a few isolated showers and storms in between this afternoon. There have been some pockets of heavy rain moving through Posey, Vanderburgh County earlier this afternoon and starting to move into Henderson County now. As this particular thunderstorm was moving through the southeast side of Evansville, it did put down a heavy downpour and briefly caused some flooding issues. I know we had a report of some flooding on, I think it was Graham Avenue maybe, but as a result there is a flood advisory in effect just for the next couple of hours to give you a heads up that as that water is receding, you may run into some flooding issues on the southeast side of Evansville just for the next little bit. That rain has already moved out, so it's not going to get any worse, but it may take a little while for the water to recede. That same thunderstorm now moving through the Spotsville area in eastern Henderson County, and then a little farther to the southeast, we've got some more heavy rain and quite a bit of lightning moving through Ohio County. This little thunderstorm moving through Knuckles right now, moving out of McLean into Ohio County, and then this larger storm moving right through the heart of Ohio County right now into parts of, that would be Beaver Dam and Hartford area. They're getting quite a bit of lightning and some heavy rain. These thunderstorms will continue to push off to the southeast though, so once that clears Ohio County, that particular storm should move out of the tri-state. And the rest of us are dry. It's just these two little thunderstorms. Everything else is down to our south, down around Bowling Green into Hopkinsville there. We may continue to see a few more very isolated thunderstorms as we go through the next couple of hours, but it's going to be a lot like what we're seeing right now. A spotty storm may briefly pop up somewhere, dump a bunch of heavy rain, and you would see very isolated flooding, but most of us are probably going to stay dry, and that'll be the trend through the rest of this afternoon. Then any rain we do see will largely taper off as the sun goes down. A stray shower can't be ruled out overnight or into Tuesday morning, but it seems unlikely. Tuesday is trending mainly dry, although a stray shower may pop up in the afternoon. Similar story on Wednesday. Wednesday looks mostly sunny, but there is that chance that an isolated shower or storm could bubble up in the heat of the day Wednesday afternoon or evening. As for our thunderstorm risk, we were originally at a level 1 risk for severe weather. That has since been pulled out. So now the entire tri-state sitting at just a general risk, which means we may get some thunderstorms, but they would be just kind of garden variety thunderstorms. No wind, hail, or tornadoes to be concerned about. It would be just heavy rain and frequent lightning, which is exactly what we've seen this afternoon. But the heavy rain is where we could get some concern. We are sitting at a level 1 to level 2 threat for some isolated flash flooding through the rest of this afternoon, something that we've already seen in Evansville today. But as we go to the second half of this string of alert days, once we get through this afternoon, flooding not really as much of a concern, but with this humidity, you need to keep in mind any thunderstorms we get this week would have the potential of dumping that heavy rain and causing that very isolated flooding. But really moving forward, the focus is going to be more on the temperatures. Not too bad out there today, upper 80s to right around 90 in many locations. Evansville running a little bit cooler because it did just rain here. It's 89 in Grayville, 90 in Oakland City and Greenville, Owensboro sitting at 88. But the dew points are in the mid to upper 70s in many locations. That is humid. I mean, we are just maxing out the muggy meter here. That is just sticky air you can wear kind of humidity. It feels very tropical out there, that level of humidity that we're dealing with right now, and that's not going to go away. So keep in mind, as the temperatures get hotter in the week ahead, the humidity is sticking with us, so that's going to make it feel even hotter than it actually is. So if you're headed out to the county fair, you may catch a stray shower, but I really think that one little thunderstorm that just moved through Evansville is probably what we're going to get in Vanderburgh County today. Temperatures will top out in the upper 80s to near 90 this afternoon and then gradually drop back through the 80s this evening under partly cloudy skies, but it is humid out there, so be prepared. Very warm, very muggy, and it's going to stay that way even after the sun goes down. We're only going to drop back into the low to mid 70s. Then tomorrow, a little more sunshine and mainly dry, but another hot one with highs in the lower 90s, feeling like the low triple digits, and it gets even hotter from there as we get into Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. That's when this heat wave really hits its stride. We're looking at high temperatures in the mid 90s Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. As we get into the weekend, the rain chances pick up a little bit, and with a few scattered showers and storms in the forecast, that may briefly cool us, so knocking a couple degrees off the temperatures there with highs in the lower 90s then through the weekend and into the start of next week. But again, this is hot by itself. You factor in that humidity, it's going to be just miserable out there with heat index values well into the triple digits. Could get as high as 105 to 107 at times this week. But for today and tomorrow, we're sitting at just kind of a moderate heat risk. That's level 2 out of 4 as far as our concern for heat-related illnesses. But then you see that major heat risk off to the southwest really starting to push into the tri-state Wednesday, and then it just takes over on Thursday. I think Thursday will probably be the very worst day out of this heat wave, but the days on either side of it are going to be pretty miserable too. I mean, it's just going to be miserably hot and humid out there all week long. That major heat risk sticking with us into Friday. We may see a brief cool down on Saturday, but even into the weekend, we're sort of right at the cusp of that moderate to major heat risk. And again, we're expecting the steamy weather to continue on into Monday as well. I hope you'll take this seriously. I know it's really easy to brush this off. I hear people say all the time, you know, why are we on alert for heat? Of course it's hot, it's summer, and some of you may be thinking that right now. But this is the heat and humidity combined are going to reach levels that can become dangerous very quickly. You can overheat very fast and it kind of sneaks up on you. And this is something we want to take seriously because it does kill people year after year consistently. Last year, on average over the past 10 and 30 years, the number one weather-related killer in the United States is heat, and number 2 is flooding. Two things we've been dealing with this week, and 2 things people tend to not take very seriously. So the good news is on both of those deaths are largely very avoidable. With flooding, just don't drive through the floodwaters. A majority of flood deaths happen in cars. But then as far as the heat is concerned, a big thing is to just take care of yourself. Move any sort of strenuous activity into early in the morning or later in the evening outside of the hottest times of day. Wear lightweight, light-colored clothing. Drink lots of water. Don't wait until you get thirsty. Once you're thirsty, that's your body kind of sending the signal that, hey, I need some water. You've already let it get too low at that point. So just be sipping water all day long to keep yourself hydrated. And then don't get too much sun. I know a lot of folks will be hitting the pools with all of this heat in this week, and you know, the summer break is kind of winding down, so folks are getting those last few pool days in. That's fine. But remember your sunscreen, and even when you're in the pool, remember to take breaks in the shade and drink some water because it's also really easy to forget to hydrate when you're out at the pool. So don't get too much sun because a sunburn makes heat dissipation that much more difficult. Anybody who's ever had a bad sunburn knows it can almost feel like you have a fever. It's really hard for your body to regulate its temperature if you get sunburn. So please be very careful of that. Take all the proper precautions and stay cool and stay safe out there, as it is going to be a very hot and humid week across the tri-state, but especially right here through the second half of the work week, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I think that's going to be the worst of it, and we really want people to stay cool and stay hydrated. All right, let's take a quick check-in of the comments. William picked up a little bit of rain out by Bossy Field, but said, yeah, I was looking at our sky cams, and you mentioned that downpour, William. You could see the rain shaft, just this, you know, just stovepipe of just rain off in the distance. Really interesting looking there. Just that one little shower just dumping rain over a small location. So not everybody in Evansville got that heavy rain, but the places that did are dealing with some flooding now. Jeanette is over the rain. Aren't we all, Jeanette? Yeah, I'm getting sick of the flooding, especially. Pool days this week for sure, I agree, but again, remember your sunscreen, remember your water. You want to stay hydrated. You're welcome, Susan. Paula, we're not real concerned about any kind of wind today. We had been overnight last night. We had those storms coming down from the north, and we were worried some of those could kick up some higher wind gusts, but the storms that we're getting today are much more isolated and don't pose a damaging wind threat. David, again, reiterating, we saw that earlier. I showed you we've got that flood advisory for the southeast side of Evansville. David saying, yes, it is flooded in that area. Please avoid it. Sherry says it came down heavy in Evansville and Henderson. Yeah, I could definitely see it on the radar. Yeah, hopefully next week we'll get a little better. You know, we're waiting to see for sure, but it seems like eventually we'll sort of break out of this extreme heat and humidity. Like I said, it does seem like the second half of this week, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, will probably be the worst of it, but if you're out in the sun, in the heat, in the humidity, and you're not taking the proper precautions, any day this week can really turn very dangerous very fast. Anybody who's ever dealt with heat exhaustion will tell you it sneaks up on you fast. You go from feeling a little hot to all of a sudden feeling dizzy to, you know, all of a sudden getting yourself into a very serious medical situation there. So please, please be careful out there. Stay cool, stay hydrated. I think I've answered everybody's questions, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. But again, we are on alert for possibly dangerously high heat and humidity this entire week, with Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday being the worst of it. There are some hit or miss chances for thunderstorms, and with all this humidity, all this moisture in the atmosphere, that flooding is going to remain a very isolated threat. So many of us won't get any rain, but if you do, it's going to be, you know, when it rains, it pours kind of situation. So please just be vigilant out there. And if you do see flooded roadways, don't try and drive through it. If it's too deep, just turn around, find a different way to go. That would be the best advice I can give you on that. All right, everybody have a great rest of your day then.